Good evening, VC. North Carolina Picker here. We're going to go ahead and discuss tonight, the solos. This is going to be all the solo items that they made, their CDs and albums, and all their members of the band. Now, I couldn't show you everything. I don't own everything. But if I did that, we'd be up till 2 in the morning. So what I'm going to do is what I decided to do is to show one album or CD of each individual member of the band as much as I have. So we're going to start off by saying thank you all for joining me tonight in this part 3 of Yes. First thing we're going to start off is with Steve Howe. Steve Howe's been the guitarist on and off for a lot of years. He's not the original guitar player, but this is one of his albums. I'm going to try it so you don't have any glare. In the grand scheme of things, this is a very good album. He had several in a row for a while, and he had some back in the early days. If you get anything in his music, he's the maestro. He when it comes to playing the guitar. And then we're going to talk about John Anderson, the original lead vocalist for Yes. This is a current album from last year, 1,000 Hands, and this has lots of people on it. You can see the back cover. It'll show you all the people that contributed to making this CD, including Steve Howe. If you get a chance, listen to this. It's very good. If you love John Anderson as much as I do, this is a must. And I say it came out in, I believe it was 2020. Now we're going to talk about Chris Squire, the original bass player for Yes, who passed away about 5 years ago, sadly. Here's his best album, Fish Out of Water. This was made about the same time John made Elias of Sun Hillow. This is a great CD, and it's extended. It has other cuts on it. Bruford is on it. If you get a chance, listen to that one. Then we'll talk about Alan White. Alan White was not the original member of Yes, but he's been with them a very long time, since Close to the Edge, when Bruford decided not to tour, and Alan White stepped up and he started drumming. This is a solo album he did a few years ago called White. He was also in the Plastic Ono Band. He was also on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. Alan White's been around the block a few times. Still a great drummer. Gets a little help these days from Jay Schillen, but still a very impressive drummer for his age and his abilities. Now we're going to talk about Bill Bruford. Bill Bruford, original drummer for Yes. This is Master Strokes. This has to do with his solo output. And also has a song on here he did with Patrick Moraz. You know Patrick Moraz was with Relayer. That's a very good record. And this is just his greatest hits of his solo work. Then we'll talk about Tony Kaye. Tony Kaye, I don't have a solo album by his. He was in a band called Badger. He was also in Yes. He's got a new solo album coming out soon, 2021. So that should be really good. Now we're going to talk about Rick Wakeman, keyboard player. Played on lots of Yes albums. Here's 2 of them right here. Journey to the Center of the Earth, 6 Wives of Henry VIII. Probably his best 2 LPs, and they sold a ton back in the 70s. These 2 albums did very well. And I believe I have them on CD. Hang on a second. Put a little Bill Bruford on. Finish this up. Then we're going to talk about Trevor Raven. Trevor Raven was a guitar player from South Africa. And he was with Yes, 90125, Big Generator, and Talk. And he's from LA, and he's done a lot of movie soundtracks. So if you ever get a chance, listen to Trevor Raven's solo output. It's really, really good. He was in a band called Rabbit. And then he's good friends with John Anderson. And they went on tour a few years ago as ARW. Anderson, Raven, and Wakeman. And I seen that show in Orlando. And they did a lot of Yes classics. And a lot of the middle period where he was on their records. Then we got Patrick Moraz. This is an album, Sphinx, Syrinx. But he has a lot of solo stuff. He's also with the Moody Blues. So he played with them as well. That's Bill Bruford in the background. From the best of. Yeah, so Patrick Moraz was on Relayer. This is one of his solo albums, and he made several. Turn that down just a bit. Okay. Then we got Trevor Horn and Jeffrey Down, and they were in the Buggles. And they also were on Fly From Here, The Return Trip. They made this album originally with David Benoit, and then David Benoit left the band. Then they redid the album, Return Trip, a couple of years ago, with the two Buggles, Jeffrey Downs and Trevor Horn, singing lead vocals. I couldn't find any reason why they redid the album, but it does sound a little bit different. It sounds more like Drama, since those two guys were on Drama, and John Anderson wasn't. Then we'll talk about Eddie Jobson. Eddie Jobson was on with Yes, 90125, just for a minute. You'll see him on a video. This is an album called The Green Album. Maybe because Gary Green is on here from Gentle Giant, I'm not sure. But the album, his band was called Zinc. This is a very good album. If you get a chance, if you love prog music, you ought to have this in your collection. That's a must. And then we're going to talk about Peter Banks. Peter Banks was the original guitarist for Yes. Okay. And this is a band that he went to after he left and Steve Howe came in. A band called Flash. And they made 3 or 4 records. Excellent. The late Peter Banks. Then you got Igor Kozinski. He was on The Ladder, 1999 album by Yes. It's a very good album. It's out on 180 gram vinyl. I need to get me a copy of that. But this is also just an excellent album. Comeback album, so to speak, for Yes, with John Anderson. Igor. Then we have John Davidson. John Davidson was with Glass Hammer, and I don't have anything with John Davidson on it. He was on the last couple albums. David Benoit, who I mentioned earlier, he was the lead singer for this album, the original one. And he's in a band called Mystery, and they're from Canada. Then you got Billy Sherwood, who's been in and out of the band a few times. He's back in there now, but he was on this album, Open Your Eyes, and this was from '97. And then he left for a while, and he came back. And Billy has he's a really good bass player, and he was good friends with Chris Squire. So when Chris Squire passed, Billy stepped up and started playing his parts, and didn't miss a beat. He doesn't have the bottom end that Chris did, but this is a really good album too. Then you have Oliver Wakeman. Oliver Wakeman is Rick Wakeman's son. He's also played with Clive Nolan. And Oliver Wakeman was on the live album for Bridge to Lions, I believe it was called. And he was also on some other Yes-related albums. So I think I mentioned everybody that was in Yes up to now. He was on 4 tracks from Fly From Here. That's where Oliver Wakeman, his comes in. So I hope you enjoyed that 10-minute recap of some of the solo albums and solo stuff. And listen to a little Bill Bruford. It was a little loud there for a minute, but I turned it down. Got a little bit mellow towards the middle of this album of the best of. And I got a few more things I wanted to show, and then I'll wrap this up. Here's a DVD of Bruford with his band Bruford. Rock Goes to College. This is also available on CD and also on LP. If you love the Bruford albums, especially the first couple, when he was on by himself and his band, more like a fusion band, jazz fusion. Because Bruford was a jazz drummer, or still is, but he's retired now. Here's one here, one I can show you, John Anderson. Tour of the Universe. Has a lot of great songs on it. Y'all have a great evening, and I found a bunch of finds, and I'll be showing them tomorrow night on my show. So we'll talk to you later. Have a good evening. Goodbye for now.